Hello there and Happy New Year to you. Today I have a craft room tour to share with you for 2022. It's been a little while since I've done one, so I thought it was about time. As I'm just going to go through my craft room here, just kind of do a pan of the whole room so you can see where everything is located. I did just want to mention that not everything fits in my room. I wish that it did, but unfortunately it is a slightly smaller space. It is about 2.7 meters by just under 2 meters. I think it looks a little bit bigger on camera than it actually is in real life. However, I'm extremely grateful for it. And what I do like to show is that even if you have a small space, you can fit a lot in it. I probably actually could fit more in it if I wanted to just have more things out, which isn't personally how I like to have my craft room, but it would fit more stuff in it. So things that aren't in this room are things like extra cardstock, photo props, a Cricut maker, an easy press, and seasonal stamps. I have a cupboard that's in my hallway that I have the photo props and the extra stamps and things like that in. And then in my bedroom, I actually have my extra cardstock underneath my wardrobe. And then I also have my Cricut maker and easy press in there as well. So it's not ideal, but you know, you get through these things if you want to keep all of this amount of stuff. I do have a lot of products. I am very fortunate enough to work with lots of different companies, but I also have been crafting for a very, very long time. So obviously I haven't purchased all of this stuff in one go. If you've watched any of my haul videos, you'll see that it takes me some time to purchase lots of different bits. So I'm going to start off on the wall here next to my computer desk. These are shelves from Ikea. They're called MOSSLANDA, and I really love them because they hold lots of things, but they're quite narrow in depth. So at the top I have pens that I like to store upright, and then I have lots of different liquid watercolors and distress-free inkers on the shelves. I really like how they look. They do get a little bit dusty, I'm not gonna lie, but I do like having them there, and they're kind of like a colorful kind of a thing for the room, if that makes sense. Underneath I have a magnetic whiteboard, and on there I do write down my assignments that for my design team work. I have removed most of them for the purposes of the video, but usually they're all written on there and I can tick them as I go so I know what I'm doing. Next up I have 2 acrylic drawer sets from Muji. I really love these drawer sets. In the top one I just have lots of different pens like Sharpies, highlighters and things like that. I've got some stickers that I use in my planner, and then I have my washi tape. So I've got all of those in the drawer there. I have pretty much run out of space, so hoping not to buy any more washi tape. And then moving on to my actual computer desk, I have my computer, or my monitor I should say, on a monitor stand, and underneath that monitor stand I have a glass board that you can use whiteboard markers on, which I find really helpful because then I can write details of blog posts and blog hops and things like that on there. And then in the drawers I pretty much just have like post-it notes and the pens that I use for the whiteboards, things like that. And then I've got my microphone that I use for voiceovers to the side. Underneath the desk, I have lots of drawers. So these are HELMER drawers from Ikea. I really like them. At the top drawer here just has lots of different stationery items. And then I have my Filofax and notebooks and my blue light glasses at the back that I use for computer work. Next is kind of like what I call my happy mail drawer. So I have things like journaling cards, little washi tape strips, clips, all sorts of things that I might decorate little parcels with to send out to friends, and I've got some stickers in there and things like that as well. Next up are lots of different pens. I'm very much a stationery addict, so I have lots of different pens. I've got like a Copic opaque white, Arteza Twee markers, that kind of thing. The next drawer holds more pens and pencils, pencil sharpeners, Nuvo glitter markers, and then the bottom drawer holds lots of different storage items for my stamps and stencils and things like that. Next set of drawers on the right hand side, at the top I've got my Cricut Bright Pad in a case that my friend kindly made for me, and I've got my mini Holtz Media Mat. In the top drawer I've got my Tombow markers. I've got some various different like memento markers and things like that, and then underneath these are kind of like 2 high of these kind of drawer organizers. They're from Muji. I absolutely love them. And then I've got my Altenew alcohol markers at the back. The next drawer here holds lots of different pencils. So I've got like colouring pencils, Inktense pencils, my polychromos, and then I've got some watercolour pencils in this little pencil case there. The next drawer holds more kind of colouring type mediums, distress crayons. I've got shimmer, kind of what they called like the powders. I've got my Altenew colouring pencils. The next drawer here is kind of like watercolours and gouache. Again, I'm using these tubs from Muji, absolutely love them. So I've got all of my watercolour tubes in those. I do keep the labels on the containers just so that I can find them again. All my gouache there at the front, and then I've got metallic watercolours. I've got kind of like do your own kind of watercolour palettes, and then I've got Altenew watercolours and Arteza metallic watercolours there. The next drawer I've got some acrylic paint, and then I've got my pots that I use for holding water when I'm colouring, watercolouring, and then I've got cloths and palettes and things like that. And then the bottom drawer just has loads of different paper in it for watercolouring and kind of colouring in general. So I've got like my watercolouring pads, got mixed media paper, lots of different watercolour pads in there. So then moving on, this is my main work desk for crafting. So I've got two shelves on the back wall, and then I also have my camera mount attached to the back wall as well. This is a Manfrotto adjustable arm, and I will have links to everything that I can possibly link to in the description bar. But what I do is I just hold my camera at the top there. It's got a quick release plate on the end, so I can just move that clip there when my camera's in it and take it off. So I find it really helpful for filming. Moving down onto my desk, I have a shelf. This is from Ikea, and then I've got little shelf legs underneath it to kind of hold it up. That just gives me a little bit extra space. I've got my Copic markers in these containers. Unfortunately, they're no longer sold where I purchased them, but they do sell something very similar at Organise more. And then I've got two more of these Muji drawers here. Actually, I think oh no, it is two. I was thinking if it was three, but these are 5 high. The other ones were 3 high. At the top, I just have some tape that I use for various different things, for foiling mainly. And then I've got my Spellbinder's main attraction, which is a lovely magnet that I can hold dies onto. In the top drawer, it is actually empty. The second drawer has some Altenew items that I use when I'm filming my Altenew videos. And I've got my swatches there of the different colours of inks that I have. And then I've got more pens. I hoard pens, so I've got loads of different pens, things like Pigura Micron pens, metallic pens. I've got Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I've got lots of Copic fine liners and Staedtler fine liners. I'm obsessed with pens. And then I've got loads of white gel pens and Posca pens, chalk pens, things like that. And then I have my most used black and clear inks. And then right at the bottom, I have some little labels that I use for storage purposes. And then I've just got some post-it notes, a ruler that a kind subscriber sent me. And then I also at the bottom have this, another kind of magnetic bowl that I use to hold my most used kind of sentiment strips. I've got my absorber cloths in there. I've got an extra little bowl that I'm not using at the moment. Another bowl that holds things that I have maybe stamped and cut out but didn't use. And then I've also got my We Are Memory Keepers mini glitter vac, which I use all of the time to pick up embossing powder on my desk. Next up is a carousel, a tool carousel. I got this from the Great Little Trading Company here in the UK. They do still sell it, but they don't have the drawers underneath. I love it because it just holds so much stuff from rulers, pencils, glue, tape, scissors, bone folders, craft knives, brushes that I use to wipe away embossing powder, spray bottles, stamp cleaner, brayers, spatulas, corner rounder punch, everything that you can possibly think of fits in this tool carousel. And then in the drawers are just smaller items, things like erasers that I use all the time. And then I've got little tools that go with various different tools that are in the carousel. And then I've got things like Copic extra nibs, and then that kind of spreader thing that you use to re-ink your ink pads. And then I just thought I would show you how I'm storing my Copic refills. These are in the cupboard that is on my in my hallway, so they're not kept in the room, but I wanted to just show you. I use these really useful boxes. Most of the Copic refills I have are the old style, but I have got a few new ones and they fit in there. I've got my Copic airbrush in there as well, and then I've also got some re-inkers, mainly Hero Arts re-inkers, to re-ink my ink pads as well, so they're all kind of together, which is quite helpful. There's a small gap in between the desks, and I have some craft mats in there, and then I also have some craft mats that I use all of the time that are on top of the first Alex drawer unit. So this top drawer here holds lots of acrylic blocks, my stamp scrubbers, my press tool for the MISTI, my personalised stamps. I have some biodegradable baby wipes. I try not to use them too much and use the absorber cloths, but sometimes I do have to use them. Next up is Altenew ink blending tools, so I've got a few of those, and then I've got the case with the smaller ones. I've also got Altenew palette knives and some more of the smaller ink blending brushes, and then my paint brushes there at the back as well. The next drawer is lots of different ink blending brushes. You absolutely do not need all of these ink blending brushes if you're new to this, but I do have a few from different companies, and then I recently got those Simon Says stamp ones as a Christmas present. I just haven't put them away yet. Next up are alcohol inks. So I have all of my Tim Holtz alcohol inks in the containers that you can purchase from them. I've just taken the top off of them so they're a little bit easier for me to grab, and then I have some Altenew ones on the left hand side, and then I've just got bits and bobs that I use with alcohol inks. And then the bottom drawer has foil, so I have got all of my Spellbinders Glimmer hot foil, and then I've got some Gemini ones as well. I've got some deco foil, and then I've got my two mini die cutting machines in there as well. Underneath my desk I have a large command hook that holds up my foam tape, and then I also have this kind of metal contraption that sticks to the top of my desk, and that holds my kitchen roll. So on top of these Alex drawers, I just have some grid paper. In the top drawer I have what I call my essentials, so I've got like my mini guillotine, I've got scoreboards, extra little mats and things like that. I have my magic powder bag for embossing. I've got alcohol wipes, I've got Swiffer cloths, I've got my most used embossing powder, I've got my Tim Holtz haberdashery scissors, and lots of post-it tape and things like that. The next drawer has got all of my adhesives in, so I've got lots of double-sided tape, I've got Memo tape, post-it tape, tape runners, foam tape, foam pads, liquid glue. At the back I've got some more rolls of foam tape, and then I've got a little Xyron sticker maker as well. The next drawer here holds my mini distress inks in their tins, and then I've got lots of different kind of ink blending foams and things like that to add onto the ink blending tools. They're on the right hand side in nail polish holders that my friend Stephanie kindly sent me over from Canada, and so I have a label on the top of the ink blending tool, and then I've also got a piece of laminated cardstock in the bottom with also the label on. They're from the Ranger website, and I find them quite helpful just for organisation purposes, and they're all of my Distress Oxide ink blending tools. The next drawer down has cardstock. A lot of it is cut down to 4 1/4 by 5.5 panels, and then I've got scraps in there as well of my most used cardstock. Then I've got card bases. I've got some cards and envelope sets and different envelopes like mini slimline and things like that. And then I've got these little pockets from scrapbook.com. I find them really helpful. Again, if like I've die cut anything that I haven't actually used, but I want to keep. So I've got like florals, I've got sentiments, I've got some tags, I've got little critters that I've cut out and coloured and I haven't used. I've got some florals and things like that. So they're kind of ready to go. And then I've got all of my envelopes there as well, and I just have them all divided just so that I know which company they're from. And then the bottom drawer has lots of different mixed media supplies, so I've got lots of distress sprays, I've got some Altenew sprays, I've got embossing paste, my Hero Arts metallic watercolours, I've got acrylic paint in here, I've got lots of different like gesso, all types of things like that, and I do still have a little bit more space in that drawer as well. And then down the side of these drawers I have my Tim Holtz Media Mat. So moving on, this is a new addition to my room this year, and this is the Rashult, the smaller version of the RÅSKOG, and this is what I use as kind of like a work in progress type card. So I have products that I've received from companies that I need to use for assignments. I have some of those in pouches, and then I also in the other tub, these tubs are from Muji again, and I have like divided sections for companies that I work with quite often, and the stamps are all in there and dice and things like that. So I find them quite helpful just to know kind of what products I need to use. The second shelf, I usually have cards in this container that I need to blog, and then at the bottom I will put products that I haven't put away yet. So onto the wall here I have a pegboard from Ikea, and I've just got lots of shelves on that. It tends to go, I tend to change it up quite often, but at the moment I have some embossing paste on there, some distress paint, my Nuvo drops, and then some Nuvo glacier paste and mousses and stickles and things like that. It's quite helpful because you can move the shelves around and things. And then I also have some pegs at the bottom that hold some Cricut tools. So moving on to my RÅSKOG, I have the HÖGSMA chopping boards on 2 of the shelves, and this one holds my MISTIs, and then also a pocket like pouch that I have MISTI tools in as well. And then I've got 2 folders that I use for swatches. So this one here is all of my colouring swatches. So I've just swatched out all my different mediums like pencils and things like that, and I have them all in here just so that it's quite helpful to be able to reference. And then I've got like my distress crayons in here, and I've also got all of my paints, so mainly watercolor paints. I've swatched them all out and added information and hero arts. I've still got a few to go. I'll be honest with you, I haven't kept up with them that much this year. It's been a very busy year for me, so I've got a few different things to catch up on in 2022. And this next one is ink pads, and so I use the downloads from Jennifer Maguire's blog, and then I also have like distress inks in there as well, and also alcohol ink swatches. In the kind of like bottom of underneath that HÖGSMA chopping board, I have some backgrounds that I've made that I haven't used, mainly alcohol ink and some ink blending. I also have another 2 MISTIs in here. And then I've got my We Are Memory Keepers 1, 2, 3 punch board and my gel press. In the middle shelf, I have my colour pencils, the ones that aren't in the drawer, and then I've also got some like Copic cleaner and some Arteza markers. And then I've got my Gemini Junior there in like a dust cover, and then also my Cricut Joy. At the side, I have my heat tools kind of hanging on hooks, and then I've got cloths and corner punches and stuff like that. In the bottom, underneath the other HÖGSMA chopping board that my die cutting machines fit on, I've got some Cricut supplies, mainly Cricut vinyl for the Cricut Joy, some foil, these are pouches that friends have made for me kindly. This one holds some Cricut tools in, and then this one here holds like the cutting blades for the Cricut. I've got some extra kind of Cricut Joy items in there, and then surprisingly this one holds Cricut pens. Then moving along, I have a cupboard, a built-in cupboard in the corner. Unfortunately, I can't use that for craft supplies. It's got pipe work and things like that in there, but I do have this lovely cute little sign that my friend bought for me for Christmas, a little fab sign which is adorable. And then I've got this Hemnes unit which is I absolutely love. Unfortunately, I don't think they sell it anymore with the doors, but they do still sell it as a bookcase. On the top, I have some boxes from Ikea. In the round ones, I have wood-mounted stamps. And in the other 2, I have older clearly besotted stamps and Hero Arts background stamps. In the Hemnes unit itself, I have all of my stamps other than seasonal ones. So in the top shelf, I have my larger stamp sets from Hero Arts, My Favourite Things, Altenew, and some other companies like Concord and Ninth. I keep them in the extra large storage pockets from Avery, Elle, and if I have a die set, I store that in the back of the pocket. Moving down, I have some acrylic holders, and the first shelf of them holds all of my Hero Arts stamps. I am on the creative team, so I have a lot of stamps, and they're divided into categories. And then my next shelf has all of my stamps from other companies, and I store my stamps with these ones just by company. I pretty much can remember what stamps I have, and so I find it easier to divide by company, but I know that some people really like dividing by category. These are the acrylic boxes. I used to buy them from Muji. Unfortunately, they stopped selling them a long time ago, but my friend Sharon kindly found them for me, and she uses them as well, and I will have links to those boxes. They're just slightly taller in size. So for my kind of general size stamps, I again have them in the Avery Elle pockets, and then those stickers at the top, the little turquoise ones, that means that the company has kindly sent it to me, so I like to just keep track of products in that way. Next, I've got my clearly besotted stamps in the middle, and then on either side I have some kitchen bin like InterDesign containers, and this first one here on the left holds a background stamps. I have them in pockets from We Are Memory Keepers. They were 6x6 page protectors, and I just cut the holes off. Unfortunately, they no longer sell them, and I haven't found anything that I like to replace them, so I'm still using those, but I apologize that they're no longer available. And then the one on the right hand side holds all of my embossing folders. So I've got Sunny Studio, I've got some Simon Says Stamp in there, and Altenew. And for these, I just take them out of the packaging and I just label the folder as is, just with my label maker, and I find it quite helpful when they kind of don't get like too messy or anything like that. So they're just all stacked in there. And then I've got all of my cardstock. The majority of it is 8.5 by 11 sized cardstock, but I do have some A4 cardstock. And then I've got various different like adhesive sheets and things like that in the folder on the left hand side. So my cardstock is in magazine files from Muji, and then I have some dividers in between the different colours of cardstock, which I just label on the front and the back. At the front of that, I have a punched pocket. These are A4 sized punch pockets, and I've just cut off the holes on the left hand side, so I can't fit in a whole sheet of cardstock, like 8.5, 11 cardstock, but I can fit in smaller scraps, so I keep them all together with my colours of cardstock, and then I just have the full sheets of cardstock behind those. And I want to thank Jennifer Kinney and Jessica Frost Ballas for the idea of the dividers. I did used to have dividers, but I made them out of cardstock, and these are out of plastic and they're just a little bit more durable. If I have kind of packs where I've just got like one sheet of different colours, I do the same thing and have the kind of scraps at the front, and then I just have the different colours behind there. Then I've got all of my die storage. These are in boxes from Crafter's Companion, and I find them quite handy to have. And so this is just a look inside. I cut magnetic sheets and stick them on the pages, and then I just add the die on top. You can get pages that are just completely magnetic, but I found that they were quite heavy, so I didn't really want to use those. Moving down onto the bottom shelf, I have my Altenew gradient cardstock. This is a slightly smaller size pieces of cardstock, so I've just got them in an InterDesign container again and just divide those. And then I've got all of my 6x6 paper pads. I keep them in cello bags. Unfortunately, these ones aren't biodegradable, but I am looking to change to biodegradable cello bags. And so that means that I can keep all the scraps and things like that together as well. And then for MFT pads, I print out that download that is on their website so that I can see what colours are in the paper pads, which is really helpful. And then my foiling plates are all in the same folders that my dies are in, but the smaller version. And then I've got my die cutting machines here, and then the plates for that. And then there's a small gap underneath this cabinet, so I have these boxes from Ikea. In this first one here, I've got my mini mink machine, and then I've got foiling supplies for the We Are Memory Keepers foil quill. And then this one here holds my Gemini foiling system, Glimmer Hot foil system, I should say. So then moving along, I have these two cabinets here. These are from a company called the Best Craft Organiser. I think they stopped selling them for quite a while, but I believe they have now been sold to Stamp and Storage, so I'm hoping that they start selling them again. I find them really helpful because you can change out the drawers. They've got little pegs inside so you can move them around. I find them really quite helpful. On the wall here, I've got my little pin flag. I don't have a huge collection of pins, but I've got a few and I like to display them on there. And then I've got a 12 by 12 cropper hopper kind of like magazine file, and then I have all of my 12 by 12 cardstock in there. I don't have a huge amount, but it is quite helpful for making your own envelopes and things like that. And again, I just have them divided by company. At the front, I have some larger swatch sheets like my Copic charts and things like that, and my Hero Arts catalogues. And then I've got more binders. These are from Simple Stories, like my swatch ones. And then for this one, I have all of my stencils in. So I just have paper inside of the punch, like page protectors, and then I just hold a stencil in each one. And then I have been adding a stencil to the front and the back just to save a bit more space. And then I just divide the sections by different colours of the paper that's inserted into the pockets. I just find that really helpful to be able to store stencils. So in the top drawer of this cabinet here, this is all inks to start with. So the top drawer has Memento inks and some Versa fine kind of like chalk inks. Next up is Paper Tray inks, Lawn Fawn inks and Nuvo inks. I really like having the like small cubes. They're quite helpful to be able to store them. Then I've got my Altenew ink cubes here. I've got some more Altenew ink cubes and then my Concord and 9th ink cubes. I have a spare drawer, which is really helpful. And then I've got some larger ink pads, things like different black ink pads and clear ink pads. Then I've got my Distress Oxides. I just store them stacked on top of each other. It's not that great so that you can't see all of the colours, but it is still working at the moment. The next drawer here holds some older formulation of MFT inks, Simon Says Stamp inks, and some Altenew pigment inks and my embossing ink. The next drawer here is Hero Arts ink cubes. Then I've got more Hero Arts ink cubes. And then this drawer here holds the full-size reactive inks from Hero Arts and also the pigment inks as well. And then I've got my white ink and embossing ink there at the front. And then this drawer is all of my Hero Arts shadow inks and ombre inks. And in all of these drawers there is drawer liner that helps kind of keep them in place. This is all my embossing powders. I do just keep them in the jars that they come in. Next up is some glitter at the front. I don't use glitter a whole lot, and obviously now we know it's not great for the environment, but I just try my best to contain it as much as possible. Don't add it into the water system. And then at the back I have all of my Arteza mica powders. The next drawer contains sequins, so I have them in these Elizabeth Ward containers of various different sizes. I really like just being able to grab them and see which different colours that I have, and then I just label the bottom of them. And then the Nuvo ones and the Altenew ones I just keep in their original packaging. And then I've just got a few different bags of sequins and things like that at the back. This one is jewels and crystals and bubbles and raindrops, and then I've also got some googly eyes and some action wobbles there as well. And then I've got some extra googly eyes and then some enamel kind of chipboard pieces at the back. The next drawer is Doodlebug embellishments. I used to use a Doodlebug pretty much exclusively. I don't so much now, but I do still have all of the embellishments and I do still really love them. I just don't use them that much these days. But I've got things like buttons and clips and brads and stuff like that. This next drawer is stickers. I've got my Simon Says Stamp sentiment strips in there, and then I've got lots of different alphabets, some Altenew ephemera, some Tim Holtz stickers and rub-ons and things like that. The next drawer is all of my felt. Again, I haven't used this for a little while, but I do like making little felt plushies and things. The next drawer is all of this at the back is all Doodlebug I mean, I used to collect Doodlebug basically, so that's why I've got so much of all of these embellishments, and I really need to get into using them more again. At the front I have some Spellbinders gems and then some Altenew enamel dots. I've got Hero Arts enamel dots and then some gems and things like that as well. And in the bottom drawer I have ribbon. This is all paper tray ink ribbon, and then I've got some twine and some Doodlebug twine and metallic thread and things like that. And then last but not least, at the side of these cabinets I have a command hook again, and then I have my full-size Cricut mats hanging there. I've also got my tripod for my camera and then my large guillotine. And then on the back of the door I have a towel that I use for kind of splattering and stuff like that, so it does look very dirty, and then my aprons there as well. So that was a look at my craft room for 2022. I hope I've covered everything. If I haven't, please do leave me a comment and ask a question. I will have links to everything that I can possibly link to over on my blog. Unfortunately, the description bar on YouTube just isn't long enough to be able to have everything linked, but do head over there. There'll be a link to my blog post. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.